Yesterday, an old friend of mine, somebody I actually haven't talked to in probably, I don't know, 6, 8, 10 years, quite a while, but I've known for at least 40 years, called me up and started going through this. You know, he wanted to just lay out for me the reason why Donald Trump was going to continue as president for another 4 years, why this was so important, because it would ensure the survival of our republic, that it just went into all this, that the deep state is running everything, including and the Fed is part of it, and blah, 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 blah. And I get it, that this set of conspiracy theories are traveling like a virus. And I mean, it was frankly shocking to me, because this is a smart guy. And it's somebody I've known, for forever. And I just had to say, I'm sorry. I disagree with you. I didn't say you're wrong. I said I disagree with you. I don't believe those things. Those things don't comport with what I've seen that I believe to be factual. And I don't want to have this conversation with you. How are your parents? How's your brother and sister? Let's talk about our families. And we had a nice conversation, about our families, and we just stopped talking about politics. But, when he first called, he was like, filled with this evangelism, which is like one of the first signs that somebody's the member of a cult, cult followers. Here's the thing. And if you've ever had, religious zealots approach you and try to convert you, you understand this. But it's something that I think most people are broadly unaware of, but is a truth about human behavior. And that is that the things we're certain about, we don't feel any need to convince others of. I mean, when was the last time somebody walked up to you and said, "Did you know that the earth is round?" Now, I get that there are some people who believe the world is flat, and this is another one of those. In fact, again, in this mind-boggling documentary about social media, largely about Facebook, but about social media more generally, called The Social Dilemma. Louise and I watched this over the weekend. It's on Netflix. It's free if you have a Netflix subscription. And, it was just like validating everything that I thought I understood about all this, that there is a conspiracy theory that has been spreading on Facebook for a couple of years, or for some time now, that the world is actually flat, and there's people who are actually believing it. But in any case, back to my original point, when we have shared consensus about things, in other words, when we all understand that something's real, then we don't feel the need to bring that up. Hey, did you know that we have, that it's fall, that the leaves are falling off the tree? Well, you might bring it in. It's not pretty, but, it's not like, hey, let me tell you about this. And when there are things that we hold as beliefs and know that they're beliefs, there's little objective proof for them. But we have no doubt about them. People who really believe that, in the context of religion, for example, that, Jesus was who the church says he is. And the things that he did and said are actually the things he did and said. They tend not to be the people who are knocking on your door. The ones who are knocking on your door tend to be the people who are still unsure of their own belief. And the process goes something like this. If I am exposed to a new belief and I decide to adopt it, and I say, okay, this is my new belief system. I believe that, fill in the blank, right? The deep state is running the world, or whatever it may be. There's still a part of me that's not sure, because I know that there's so much objective evidence that it's not true. And I also know that the vast majority of people don't agree with me. They don't also believe this. And so what I would do, or what the average person would do, is two things. Number one, you look for data that conforms with your belief. In other words, you're looking for reinforcement of your belief system. And some people will build very, very resilient bubbles around themselves in their social media, in their friends and family, everything. They build these really resilient bubbles around themselves to prevent arguments that counter those arguments from coming into their world or from having to deal with them. And one of the downsides of social media is that it amplifies this. It actually does it for us. I have a really hard time. I was thinking the other day that I should create a new Facebook account, a new Twitter account, and just follow right-wingers so that I can see what they're saying, because I have no idea. Right? With my Twitter account, my Facebook account, I never see right-wing stuff, or very, very rarely. And right-wingers on Twitter and Facebook very rarely see left-wing stuff. So in any case, number one, the first thing that people do is they build this system of belief reinforcement. And then the second thing that people typically do, once they're like 75% convinced of the reality of their new belief system, is they try to convert other people. And the reason for this is really simple. If I can convince another person that my particular belief is correct, it validates that belief for me. Right? If I'm unsure that Jesus rose from the dead, but I can convince 3 people in an afternoon going door to door that Jesus rose from the dead, and that they all go, yeah, okay, I get it now, then that further solidifies my belief. Whether it's in something religious, or whether it's a conspiracy theory, or it's some totally wacky thing like the world is flat. So, we have to understand where this is coming from. And I think that, when somebody is in evangelism mode, that's when they're most vulnerable to being talked out of their belief, because they're evangelizing to reinforce it. So if you have a family member or a friend or something, just know that. But then you look at the content of some of these belief systems. For example, my friend was telling me that in the next week or two, sometime before the Electoral College meets, there's going to be this giant event, and it's going to cause Trump to be declared president. Well, this is what Donald Trump said this morning. This was during a ceremony at the Oval Office. He was asked about Rudy Giuliani. And he said, Rudy's doing well, just spoke to him. He said, by the way, the case has been made. If you look at the polls, it was a rigged election. You look at the different states, the election was totally rigged. It's a disgrace to our country. It's like a third world country with those ballots pouring in from everywhere using machinery that nobody knows ownership, nobody knows anything about. He says, and now we find out what we can do about it. But you'll see a lot of big things happening over the next couple of days, which is almost word for word from what my friend said to me yesterday. In other words, Trump is encouraging these bizarre beliefs, this cult.